Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening, Monday, September 23rd, for this candidate forum for the Vista City Council Districts 2 and 3. We want to extend a special thanks to the Vista Chamber of Commerce and the South Vista communities for hosting the forum, and to you, Vista residents, who care about the future of your community. I am Chris Harris, a proud member of the League of Women Voters of North County, San Diego, and I will be the moderator tonight. The League was founded in 1920 when women first gained the right to vote. And while our name is League of Women Voters, don't let that fool you. We welcome everyone to join us in our mission to promote active, informed public participation at all levels of government. I'd like to point out that the League of Women Voters is strictly nonpartisan. We never endorse or oppose any political party or candidate for public office, although we do sometimes, in a completely separate arm of the League, our advocacy arm, take positions on vital issues. Our guiding principle for candidate forums is to provide a fair and impartial platform for candidates to speak directly to voters and for voters to learn about the candidates' positions and priorities. In that vein of fairness and impartiality, none of the League question sorters, timers, nor I live or vote in Vista. Fairness and impartiality are also central to the format and ground rules for tonight's forum, which we will briefly review now. All participants, including the Vista Chamber of Commerce and the South Vista communities, and the candidates have agreed to the format and ground rules. Specifically, tonight's event is not a debate, nor is it a rally. It is an opportunity for candidates to respond to questions from the community and for the public to hear how the candidates would address the issues. Candidates have agreed to focus their answers on their vision and positions rather than commenting about other candidates' qualifications, character, or activities. To submit a question to the candidates, please raise your hand and one of our volunteers will bring you a card and a pen. One question per card, but you may ask as many questions as you wish. Please write legibly, be as succinct as possible, and address your question to all of the candidates, not just one. Raise your hand when you've completed your question card, and a volunteer will take it to our question sorters. In addition, we have received questions in advance via the Chamber's website. Our question sorters will group all the questions by topic, eliminate duplicates, and those not relevant to the office being sought, and that are inappropriate. We will include as many questions as time allows. Tonight's candidate forum rules call for civility on the part of both the candidates and the audience. We ask for everyone's cooperation in treating each other with courtesy and respect. And audience members, we ask specifically that you not applaud or otherwise express positive or negative reactions to candidates' remarks. At the end of the forum, we will all be able to applaud all of the candidates. Thank you for your help in assuring a civil discussion of the important issues that confront your community. We are video recording this forum and we'll post it on our YouTube channel within 48 hours. The link to the recording can be found on our website, lwvncsd.org. No other video recording of this forum is allowed other than that expressly authorized in advance in writing by the League. This also includes audio or video recording on cell phones. At this time, I'd like everyone to take out their phones and silence them, please. Now let me take a minute to explain the format of the forum. Tonight we will hear from Katie Melendez and Denise Barragan running for a 4-year term as City Councilor for District 3. And from Anthony White and Jeff Fox running for a 4-year term as City Councilor for District 2. We will start with 2-minute opening statements from each candidate. After 2-minute opening statements, we will begin the question and answer period. Generally, candidates will have up to 1 minute to respond to each question. I may allow more time for more complex questions, or I might insert a speed round where the candidates will be asked to respond to the question with a simple one-word answer. I'll let you know if that's what I'm going to do. There will be no separate rebuttals. However, candidates may choose to use some or all of their time to rebut another candidate's response. Following the questions, the candidates will each have 1 minute for a closing statement in the reverse order of the opening statements. The order in which the candidates are speaking has been determined randomly. We rotate the order in which candidates will respond to the questions. Our timers will give the candidate a 30-second warning with a yellow sign. 30 seconds. Thank you. And then we'll hold up a red sign when the candidate's time is up. Candidates must wrap up the answer when the time is up, or they will be cut off. Okay, so let's get started. Candidate White, you will go first. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. First off, I want to say thank you to the Chamber and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. My name is Anthony White, and I'm running for the Vista City Council to represent the 2nd District. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and a longtime community advocate. As a Marine veteran, I learned the value of service above self. And as an advocate, I've spent nearly the last decade serving veterans, students, and families. My life experiences, including overcoming homelessness here in Vista, have actually shaped my vision to serve others. They've given me a deep understanding of the challenges faced in our city, and I'm committed to making Vista a place where every resident can thrive. I'm a father, having raised a son from high school to elementary here in Vista, and this is my home. My platform is focused on what I like to call front door politics. That means I want to focus on the things that matter at home in the day-to-day lives of everyone. That includes public safety, housing affordability, infrastructure revitalization, and most importantly, I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to serve my neighbors. Something I learned in the Marine Corps was that rising tide lifts all ships. I'm dedicated to serving to the left and the right of me because I know that I'll be taken care of in turn. I humbly ask for your support for the Vista City Council because I believe I am the candidate who is going to do the most to serve all of you, not because it serves a special interests, but because it means I get to serve my neighbors. So please consider supporting me for the Vista City Council's 2nd District, and I will make sure that I fight hard for the Vista residents. Thank you.
Candidate Barragan.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. My name is Denise Berrigan, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Denise Barragán y estoy muy agradecida de estar aquí con ustedes hoy. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico, and I came to the United States when I was 4 years old. I have lived in the city of Vista ever since, specifically in District 3. I attended Grapevine Elementary, Washington Middle School, and ultimately graduated from Rancho Buena Vista. I have been a business owner for 18 years alongside my father, and I have sat on multiple boards, including the California Auto Body Association, the Vista Chamber of Commerce, and I currently serve on the board for the Vista Historical Society, as well as the Vista Education Foundation. I have deep roots in this community, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity to run to represent my district. I want to ensure that I can improve the quality of life for all residents in our city by providing public safety, making sure that we have an adequate number of first responders and sheriff deputies for our growing population. I also want to make sure that we can beautify our streets and improve our roads, as well as ignite economic growth and bring real representation to City Hall in a city where over 50% of our population considers themselves Hispanic per our last census, and a third of our city speaks Spanish. I really believe that having that representation will benefit our community as a whole. Thank you again for having me here today.
Candidate Fox.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to both the Vista Chamber of Commerce as well as the League of Women Voters for hosting this today. It's so important to let you, the community, hear what our stances are on different issues so that you can be informed this November at the polls. So thank you. I asked for an applause, but I don't want to get you in trouble. Good evening, fellow Vistonians. My name is Jeff Fox, and I'm running for the 2nd District of Vista City Council. And I'm running for this seat because I believe that local politics is where we can make the biggest positive impact on our communities. And I'd just like to start with a little bit of background on myself and where I'm coming from. I was not born here, but I moved here when I was 10 months old, and I currently live straight across the street. I can see through my front window my preschool Noah's Ark, and which some of you have probably heard me say for the 100th time. But I went to all Vista Unified Schools. I went to Lake Elementary. I went to Tri-City Christian, technically that's not unified, as well as Rancho Buena Vista High School. And after graduating college, from the University of San Diego, I came back. I started a business. It's called Star Fox Media. It's walking distance from here over at the Film Hub. And we're a marketing and video production company that, our mission is to help small businesses grow. And I think small businesses are such an important part of our community because they're really the organizations that make our communities thrive. They supply most of the jobs, and they do they're the lot of the restaurants, the breweries, the things that makes us really call Vista home. But most importantly, my wife Mina and I would like to start a family here in this city, and we want to make sure that our children have the same opportunities growing up that I did, or preferably even better. So I think Vista is an amazing city. I think it has such awesome community, such awesome character, as well as so much potential. And I just want to use my business experience to make it the best place it can be. Thank you.
Candidate Melendez.
Good evening, I'm Katie Melendez. I currently serve you as the Deputy Mayor of the City of Vista and your incumbent representative on Vista City Council District 3. I am also the Vice Chair on the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors, as well as Sandag's representative from the City of Vista. I was born and raised here in Vista, grew up going to Vista Public Schools. I even had my first job in Vista, sweeping floors at a small business downtown. And my service background includes serving as an AmeriCorps, working with people with disabilities, as well as working at a local nonprofit in Vista with people experiencing homelessness. I'm running for re-election to continue our progress in Vista on top issues. As a leader on the council, I have been effective by taking a strategic approach to address the root causes of issues and maximizing our resources for the public benefit. I've been able to bring in tens of millions of dollars of grant funding to our city for programs such as right outside here in our Civic Center parking lot, our safe parking program for people who are sleeping and experiencing homelessness in their cars. I initiated that program, and we have seen huge benefits, including a quiet neighborhood where there used to be more disturbances, and fewer calls to services to our Sheriff's Department. And this is just one example of the type of programs that I've been able to create. Proud to be endorsed by our Vista Firefighters Association and leaders like Senator Catherine Blakespear. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for coordinating this tonight. I just think it's wonderful that we have two strong young female candidates in this race. I think it will contribute to a great discussion. Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, if you write down your questions, hold up the card, someone will come and collect it and bring it up to the question sorters. The people on this side, you guys can ask questions too, you know. Okay, maybe you get extra credit, I don't know. Give it a shot. Okay, the first question. What are your top 3 council priorities? And we are going to start this time with candidate Melendez.
Thank you for the question. My top priorities are affordable housing, public safety, and community health and well-being. I have been hard at work for the past 4 years on these top issues, and I'll share a few examples of what I mean. When it comes to affordable housing, we know that that is the most pressing issue, and all candidates find that as a pressing issue. The city of Vista is responsible for a large number of housing to be developed, and I want to ensure that housing is affordable for all income levels. I'm proud to have launched our 100% renewable energy programs through Clean Energy Alliance, as well as championed community health programs such as removing toxic pesticides from our parks. Whether it's public safety and adding new personnel to our fire department and new personnel to our sheriff's contract, to providing affordable housing, I've been working for you.
Thank you. Candidate White.
Great question, and you're probably going to hear a lot of the same responses because a lot of our priorities really are the same when it comes to serving Vista, because we can all recognize what are the significant challenges that we face. My top 3 priorities are housing affordability and accessibility, and I make that distinction because what's affordable for some might not be affordable for others. So I want to make sure that while we have affordable housing, we also have accessible housing. And that doesn't just necessarily mean rental developments, that also means home buying opportunities so that people can have stability and strength here in their community. My other priorities include public safety and infrastructure development, and that includes things like sidewalks where there aren't any, especially in the 2nd District where we have a lot of older neighborhoods. We have public lighting or street lighting that we need to make sure we improve, and we need to make sure that residents can walk and enjoy the streets safely, because we have a lot of speeding and a lot of issues in our neighborhood streets that make it almost inaccessible for senior citizens, for youth to be out in the streets and feel safe. So housing affordability, public safety, and infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Barragan.
Thank you for the question. I want to make sure that our quality of life is improved for all of our residents. I am making my priorities public safety. I want to make sure that, again, our sheriff deputies have the support that they need, as well as our first responders, and also our homeless outreach team, that we can help people living on the streets get out of these unsafe and inhumane conditions. Secondly, I want to make sure that we have improved our streets and our roads. For example, Emerald Drive needs, I want to be able to finally deliver safe routes to school. We have 4 schools in that surrounding area: Grapevine, Casita, Belamente, and Tri-City Christian, and yet nowhere to cross between Date and Olive Drive. That is a big priority for me, as well as economic development. The city of Vista has the least number of jobs in all of our surrounding cities and along the 78 corridor, and I want to make sure that we can ignite economic growth in our city. Those are my priorities. Thank you.
Candidate Fox.
I was like, do I have to wait for you to? I know it's me, so. My top 3 priorities are public safety, housing and infrastructure, and economic development. I think all 3 of those are actually very tightly linked together. But for public safety, we have one of the lowest deputy sheriffs per capita out of all the contract cities in North County. They deserve the support from our city to make sure that they can keep our cities and our streets safe. When it comes to housing and infrastructure, our 2050 general plan allows for an additional units for 50,000 additional residents over the next 25 years, so double the growth rate of the last 25 years. That gives us a big opportunity as a growing city to attract new businesses and people to this area, but we're gonna have to face a lot of infrastructure improvements along the way to make sure that we can handle that influx. When it comes to economic development, again, our small businesses are the lifeblood of our community. We need to make sure to support them and that they have everything that they need, that we're creating a culture of wanting the businesses in our communities and making sure that we brand and market the city as a business-friendly city. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a yes or no answer. It's very hard. Just yes or no. Recently, additional pickleball courts were approved for Bringle. Does Vista need more pickleball courts than these recently approved courts? And we are going to start with candidate Barragan.
I do not play pickleball, but a lot of my friends do. Sorry, this said yes or no.
Yes or no? That's all I want.
Yes?
Okay. Candidate Fox.
Yes.
Candidate Melendez.
Yes.
And Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
So,
Imagine you said no.
good job. Good job at one question. The next topic is transportation. How do you feel about transportation? Yeah, I got it. I did it wrong. It's flashing again. Where's Rachel? Rachel, I broke it.
You project so well, though, Chris.
There we go. Thank you. How do you feel about transportation options currently available in our city? Can all our residents affordably get where they need to go? If not, what will you do to improve that in our city? And we are starting with candidate White.
So I believe that right now we have a pretty inadequate public transportation system. And I say that because if anybody's ever ridden the bus from North Vista to South Vista or east to west, it can take sometimes upwards to an hour to get to where you're going. And that's not really necessarily an appealing option when somebody might have the alternative of driving a vehicle. And I can tell you personally, my son takes the bus to school every single day. And it's one of those things that, he's faced with, sometimes running late to school or, being behind in his schedule. And I can tell you, when we look at our public transportation options, we have to make sure that they're an appealing option to people, that they're going to make sure that we have rapid transit so that way we can encourage people to stay off our streets, thereby reducing traffic. And we have to make sure that we also give people the opportunity to get downtown from across the different corners of Vista if we want to make sure we're promoting access to our small businesses. So we should have a rapid downtown transit system to help supplement our public transportation infrastructure.
Thank you. Candidate Barragan.
I think it's important for our leadership to be forward-thinking when it comes to transportation and to also meet the demands of residents today. So today, I know that a lot of people wouldn't ride the bus or use public transportation. However, I think that because we are planning for our population to grow, it is important to think creatively and to use technology to make sure that we are efficient. For example, syncing our street lights and making sure that everything has a better flow, and also advocating at Sandag for a better 78 highway. I know that a lot of us ride that to and from work, and I just want to make sure that we have an advocate at Sandag that's going to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Fox.
When it comes to traffic, I mean, a lot of it is during those high peak traffic times, people coming to and from work. Only about 1.4% of Vistans actually ride public transportation to and from work. And so we need to make sure that when we're planning for this infrastructure improvements, that we're taking that into consideration, and we're making sure that those people, that the 98.6% of people that do not rely on public transportation have the ability to get to work in a timely manner. Every minute that we keep people on the roads is a minute that they're not spending with their families at home or able to take care of their kids. So that's really important. Another important thing to know is that only about 14% of people in Vista actually live in Vista, work in Vista, and 50% work outside of the 78 corridor. So we need to make sure that 78 freeway, we can get to and from our city. We're kind of landlocked here, which means that we rely heavily on the 78. And so between that and the new housing coming in along Vista Way, we need to make sure we have enough infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Melendez.
Thank you. I want to emphasize that all transportation options are important for the movement of residents throughout the region. And most recent numbers from May, North County Transit District ridership was over 726,000 people. So 726,000 people were riding the North County Transit District bus services, Sprinter Station, all of our connected services in North County. And that ridership is only growing with an aging population who can't drive cars and young people who can't afford a car. There needs to be more connections with public transportation from your front door to be able to walk to maybe the Sprinter Station, to enjoy the beach. And that connectivity locally can happen with our local infrastructure, making sure we have good sidewalks and bike lanes and available infrastructure not only for cars, but also for pedestrians and cyclists as well.
Thank you. Okay, number 4. Question number 4. What economic development ideas do you have for Vista? And we are going to start with candidate Fox.
Love it. All right. Well, I have a big long list of different things that I would want to do economic development wise, but the big 3 I'll say are making sure that the 78 gets people to and from our city. I've heard multiple businesses say they don't want to open a place here because they don't want to have that 45-minute extra commute along those to get into our area, and they'll choose cities like Escondido or Oceanside or Carlsbad because they have access from a different freeway. Number 2, I'd probably say branding our city. We have to make sure that our city is known as a business-friendly city. Compared to a lot of the surrounding cities, we are. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't also and for number 3, make strides to improve that as well. Create a culture in our city that we want businesses to be here. We want them to be able to open. We want to do that as quickly as possible. So setting different metrics and things from our city's perspective to make sure that we're tracking how quickly businesses are able to open and improve that along the way. So those are probably my top 3, which would be improve the 78 corridor, brand the city, and improve the time that it takes to open. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Melendez.
Thank you. I appreciate that this forum is hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. We need the strength of our small businesses in order to do the impressive work of serving the public. Almost 20% of our budget is funded by sales tax revenue. And that is essential for our services, whether it's our law enforcement, our fire, our sidewalks. So we need to have prosperous business in order to serve our community as a government agency. But one of the areas that I think we can really improve business opportunity in Vista and to really meet the demand of North County is with hospitality. We have the Front Wave Stadium going into Oceanside. There are going to be more patrons going to some of these amenities. And I would like to see an increase in hospitality services and other resources for people to not only come and shop in Vista, but be a destination city in light of our entire region being the most beautiful place in the world.
Thank you. Candidate White.
So a saying I heard recently and that I love, and I got permission to steal it, so don't come at me, is all day in Vista. And really that concept is about transforming Vista into a community where people can live, work, play, and spend their money within the city without needing to go elsewhere for amenities and opportunities. Call me an idealist, but I think that we should be able to enjoy our city to the fullest. And really that means that we need to make sure that we're offering incentives for new businesses, that we're promoting local events and improving public spaces. I believe that we need to keep our tax dollars in Vista by making it a destination for shopping, dining, and recreation. And this idea, it really revolves around strengthening Vista's local economy and creating a vibrant, self-sustaining city that caters to the needs of the residents. So we need to make sure that we have that feedback, that we're providing for what people need, so that way people feel encouraged to spend all day in Vista. Keep their money local, support small businesses, which in turn supports the community. Thank you.
Thank you. As a small business owner myself, I know the importance of the support that small businesses get in order to thrive in the city of Vista. With that being said, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a low quantity of jobs in the city, and that's something that I want to focus on. I will continue to advocate for efforts like the Chamber of Commerce Workforce Development and making sure that our students are prepared for the workforce. I also want to make sure that our Latino business owners and our Spanish-speaking businesses are prepared to tackle any of the new laws. For example, SB 1383 that is going to require that our restaurant owners dispose of their waste a certain way, and I want to make sure that our Spanish speakers and our Spanish-speaking businesses are aware of all the changes when it comes to signage, permits, and anything else, because here in Vista, we do have a large number of Latino-owned businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's do another quick one. Yes or no? Okay, ready? Do you support the placement of digital message boards / electronic billboards in Vista? And we are starting with candidate Fox.
Maybe.
Okay, yes, no, maybe. Candidate White.
Yes.
Candidate Melendez.
Maybe.
Candidate Barragan.
Yes.
Okay, that was quick. We're moving now to fiscal management. What are your thoughts on bringing forth a 1-cent sales tax ballot initiative once Prop L sunsets? Would you vote to sunset the new tax? And we are starting this time with candidate Barragan.
I believe we have to be thoughtful in the way we approach any tax initiatives, especially at a time where a lot of families are struggling to make ends meet and the cost of living is constantly rising. With that being said, I would not support it unless it was going to replace an already existing tax.
Thank you. Candidate Melendez.
Thank you. Measure L has been essential for our community to provide public safety, even to build the civic center that we're in right now. And so these are the types of benefits that a sales tax initiative can provide for our community. And when it does sunset, I believe that it would be most prudent for our city to, with the will of the voters, continue the tax. Of course, wanting to make sure that these sales taxes do not go against purchases like food and similar type of essential goods. But I do believe it is essential to continue the measure.
Thank you. Candidate White.
So we're in a period right now where, as has been said, people are struggling to get by. We're in a period of high inflation, and that means that every dollar counts when it comes to somebody's budgeting. When you take a look at what our money's being spent on, if our checkbook reflects our values, I think that we got to make sure that we're using the money, taxing the residents that is going to go to the most good, and asking people to spend more while they're supporting local businesses, while they're shopping in the city, might be something that is going to disincentivize people from spending that money locally. Like I said, making sure that we keep those tax dollars in Vista. So if the will of the voters has been said, deemed it to be something that they could support, if that they knew that that money was going to go back into their best benefit and their well-being, then that's what I would get behind. But otherwise, I would want to make sure that we use some of our excise cannabis tax revenue, which has been a boon to the city, to help supplement some of these public development projects that we would like to see.
Candidate Fox.
So if I'm elected, I will do everything in my power to go through that budget and be as efficient as possible so that we wouldn't have to do something like this. In my opinion, if implementing a new tax is a failure of government to utilize what you currently have available to you and make sure that you're being a good steward of your community's money. So if I'm unable to do that and I'm unable to find enough places to be more efficient, and we're going to have to cut some essential services, police, fire, things like that, then obviously that's something we'll have to take on a case-by-case basis when we get there. But it is my full and 100% intention to not have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, housing. How is state legislation impacting our city in terms of housing? Will you promote this legislation or work with state elected officials to push back? And we start with candidate Melendez, please.
Thank you. So the way that state legislation currently affects our city's housing development is through the regional housing needs allocation. Regionally, the state has mandated that we as a region, all throughout San Diego, produce 171,000 housing units. And the city of Vista's share of that is around 2,500 units. And we have until 2029 in order to accomplish that, based on the current laws. So in order to accomplish our current laws, we need to be producing more housing. Currently, we've only developed around 683 units, and we know that's not enough for our growing families and community. So if we want to maintain local control, we should do our best to adhere to state guidelines as they are now and make sure that we're developing the type of housing that our community needs.
Thank you. Candidate Barragan.
Okay. Repeat the question, please.
Certainly. How is state legislation impacting our city in terms of housing? Will you promote this legislation or work with state elected officials to push back?
Okay. So currently, the state of California does affect the number of housing units that the city plans for, and I understand that with our new planning, the plan, we have actually changed the zoning, or we're going to be changing the zoning to add up to 50,000 more units here in our city. It doesn't mean that we have to add 50,000 more units, but we have the option to do that. Or to grow our population by that many, by that much. So with that being said, I think we really do need to be thoughtful in how we do this and how we accomplish those requirements coming down from the state, including making sure that we have enough infrastructure and roads available. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate White.
So right now we're being required to meet a mandate, but are we getting the tools necessary to get the job done? So I would make sure that I work with state legislators to make sure that they're going to be providing the resources, the funding, the assistance needed to help us reach the goal that they're going to be mandating us to require. As a longtime resident of Vista, I know firsthand the impact of rising housing costs. And my focus is on creating more affordable housing options for middle-income families, that missing middle that we always hear about, that we don't always hear about because they don't qualify for low income and they can't afford to get the market rate housing. So I want to make sure that we focus on middle income families, veterans and seniors, and we have that conversation around who we're going to be building for. It's got to make sure that we build for residents, because when we build high income or market rate housing here in Vista, it's usually not for the Vista residents. It's to attract people from Orange County who maybe look at Vista being a more affordable option. So I would make sure that we have that conversation with state legislators to provide the resources and funding and assistance we need to get the job done that they're requiring of us.
Thank you very much. Continuing on with homeless.
I didn't get to answer.
I forgot.
That's okay. I had the mic on and everything. I was ready to
You
go.
were ready. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. Just
Go
kidding.
ahead.
Yeah, I think luckily with the 2050 plan as it is, we're in a very strong position right now when it comes to state law and the RHNA numbers, RHNA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment numbers. That being said, I want to make sure that Vista isn't alone in shouldering the additional housing units. So I want to make sure that we work with our state legislatures, our county legislators as well, to make sure that we're able to expand out into county land in some of those areas as well, to make sure that not only do we have local affordable housing and we can build as much housing that is affordable, but then also make sure that people are able to purchase homes, which is building more out a little bit further into the boonies, if you know what I mean. So thank you.
I apologize. Continuing on a little bit on homelessness, poverty, what specific actions have you taken to engage with marginalized and underserved communities in our city? Can you provide examples of your impact, not just your intentions? And we start this time with candidate Fox.
So one way that I've engaged with some of our more marginalized communities is through my work at the Vista Education Foundation. We provide scholarships for a lot of at-need and at-risk students, and so I believe it's really important that everyone has the opportunity to get a high-quality education and go to school where they want and get that leg up in life, especially if you're starting off disadvantaged. So I would say that that's probably the most top of the head area in which that would qualify. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Barragan.
Some of the ways that I've engaged with our marginalized communities is by just going out there and speaking to people. Like I mentioned earlier, I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico, and we happen to have a large Oaxacan community here in North County. Many of them are Spanish speakers. A lot of them work very hard jobs, whether it's in the fields or very low minimum wage jobs, and they really are struggling. Some of these communities really are struggling to make ends meet. I'm helping them get access to resources. A lot of the times the city unfortunately doesn't have enough information out there in Spanish, and that's one of the ways that I've been able to help. Also with my work with the Vista Education Foundation, making sure that children that cannot afford to do extracurricular activities have the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate White.
So as I previously mentioned, I actually experienced homelessness after transitioning out of the Marine Corps, where I lived in my truck for nearly a year between Oceanside and Vista. And so that's really what spurred my interest in getting involved in community efforts. And so I've spent nearly the last 10 years being a part of homeless advocacy, whether it be through the HEAL Network, which is the Homeless Experience Advocacy and Leadership Network out of the San Diego Housing Federation. I've actually been recognized nationally by the New York Times for my homeless advocacy. I've been recognized statewide in the LA Times for my homeless advocacy, and I've actually helped to draft legislation that's been adopted by assembly members to be proposed to help assist homeless college students, which is a position that I was in at the time I transitioned from the Marine Corps. So I've worked far and wide in trying to assist those niche groups of homeless members, specifically those groups like veterans, college students, and our increasingly growing homeless population of seniors, which is the fastest growing homeless population now. So the last 10 years of mine have been dedicated to serving the homeless.
Okay. Last, candidate Melendez.
Thank you. In addition to my work serving people with disabilities and directly serving people on the street, I have spent the past 4 years as your council member developing an award-winning strategic plan to address homelessness that includes programs such as our safe parking program I mentioned earlier. I also led our council to establish a rental assistance program for families at risk of homelessness. And I worked with Senator Catherine Blake Spear to bring in $5 million for Vista's new homeless shelter, our navigation center. In addition to my work on homelessness, I also have advanced social and equity through my senior plan, our age-friendly city plan, to create a more inclusive environment for people of all ages in the city. I also work regularly with our low-income neighborhoods to make sure that they're getting the infrastructure and resources that they need. And I have championed a more inclusive government where we have more opportunities for public speaking, more translation services, as well as services in Spanish as well.
Thank you. This question is just, no, turned it off. This question is just for the District 3 candidates, and that would be, wait till I get it right. The gentleman, correct? Nope, the ladies. 50-50. This is a District 3 question, and I'm going to start with, what are your plans to improve Emerald Drive? And I'm starting with candidate Barragan.
I actually grew up on Emerald Drive. I have lived in multiple apartment units on Emerald Drive and now own a home at the top of Emerald Drive. This is one of the biggest reasons that I decided to run. We have been waiting for over 6 years. When the study was done in 2018, we were promised many changes. I know that we have applied to grants, but we have not been successful in getting that funding to improve our road. Therefore, I think that what needs to be done is it is such an urgent need because there are no safe routes to school, and there's also 2 parks and a community center in the surrounding area. It is important to me that something gets done rather than nothing. We have had so many fatalities, cars crashing into homes, people can't pull out of their driveways. We have multi-generational households living on the street with aging parents that are afraid to pull out of their driveways. One of the things that I want to do is just bring better signage. We actually don't have enough signs, and our speedometer is constantly not working. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree that Emerald Drive is a huge issue. We do have a community plan, a plan that was developed by the community to do a complete streets project. So because of the older development in the area, this would be a massive infrastructure improvement. And the city could take it at a piecemeal approach, perhaps putting stop signs at different intersections. But I have reviewed this with our city staff, and that could potentially cause a 70-car pileup in the mornings, which would be very damaging for the throughput of that area. So the plan as it is that the community came up with was for a series of roundabouts, and we did get funding for the plan. I was able to work with Congressman Mike Levin to bring in $850,000. I was the only elected official that ever brought any money to Emerald Drive, and I feel confident that if we continue to work on this big infrastructure challenge that we have, that we will see it fully funded.
Thank you. For the gentleman, the question is, what improvements would you make to Brengle Terrace Park? And I'm going to start with candidate Fox, please.
I love Brengle Terrace Park. It's such a great asset to our community, and I love to walk my dog there around the whole outside of it. It has so many different aspects to it with the botanical gardens, with Moonlight Amphitheater, there's so many different parts of the park that there's not too much that I think needs to be done. However, I've heard that there are a lot of people that want some more pickleball courts. And so that is something that I think we can manage. I think that's something that we can make happen, as well as a dog park. I would also really appreciate to have a dog park in Brengle Terrace as well. I've looked on Yelp and a lot of those different platforms to see the nearest dog park, and it looks like they drew a circle around Brengle Terrace of places and so you have to travel a pretty far distance no matter what. So those would be the 2 ways that I would improve Brengle Terrace. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So actually, my family and I, we go to Brengle Terrace pretty much a couple times a week. It's a few blocks from our house, and we walk there, quite a bit. One of the things that I noticed, especially when you're walking to Brengle Terrace, is that there is not enough lighting for the evening hours. I know when a lot of people get off work, especially when we get into the winter time, when the sun's going to be setting early and you're getting out of work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's already dark out, and you still want to let your dog out, you still want to be able to go and enjoy the community. One of those things that we've noticed is that the trail leading up to Brangle Terrace is it's very poorly lit. It's a dirt trail. It's a trip hazard for a lot of people. It's not accessible for those with disabilities. So I would make sure that we have more accessibility for our park, that we encourage people to get out and utilize these facilities, even if it is maybe a little bit later in the day. I would also echo, I swear it was my idea, no, the dog park concept, because I think that the only dog park that we have available is in South Vista off of Melrose. It's one of the few dog parks in the city, and I know a lot of people would really appreciate having more space for their pets.
That's why I was happy to go first.
Thank you. Okay, a big topic everywhere right now is public safety. The San Diego Union Tribune published an article highlighting the 39% increase in hate crimes as reported by Sandag Regional Crime Report. How would you address the increase in hate crimes? And we are starting with Ms. Barragon.
I think that there is no room for hate in our beautiful city of Vista, and I want to make sure that anybody that does engage in any conduct that is hateful towards any of our community members does have that there are consequences for that. And I will make sure to work closely with our sheriff's department. I am endorsed by the deputy sheriffs, and I want to make sure that I work closely with them to ensure that we encourage people to be kind to one another, and that they're and making sure that we are enforcing any laws that will bring the consequences that are needed if that does happen in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White.
So I've said many times that culture is driven by leadership. Right now we see a lot of divisiveness happening at the local level, at a larger scale, and I really think it comes down to making sure that we have the kind of leaders that are going to encourage each other people, especially in our local community here in Vista, to remember that we're all neighbors, that we all want the same things, which is safety, security, and peace in our families and in our lives. And I think that that's the kind of culture that we need to be promoting through our leadership. And let me be clear, as a former uniformed service member, I'm the only candidate who knows what it means to serve selflessly in uniform. And I think that working with our sheriff's department to make sure that they have a good community policing effort, that they're engaging with the community to make sure that they feel connected and safe, is going to be one of those things that we're going to help to be able to create an environment where people won't feel targeted, that they're going to be protected, and that they'll feel safe in their community. As a biracial individual, I've seen firsthand discrimination on a racial basis. It's something that has really deeply affected me, and I don't want to see that happen to any other residents.
Thank you. Candidate Melendez.
Thank you. It is heartbreaking to hear that regionally we're facing issues with hate crimes. I do want to say that in the city of Vista, we do have historically low crime, and that since being elected, I have approved budget increases to our sheriff's services, accounting for over $3.3 million. So we do need to fund law enforcement to address crime, and we also need to establish a culture of inclusivity within our community. Our city is more inclusive than ever. As I mentioned before, we have more translation services. We support our LGBTQ community. We are having more cultural events. And that, combined with the robust services of law enforcement, allows Vista to be a safe place for everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. I think it is important to recognize that, regionally in our city, violent crime is actually slightly up. And so when it comes to our murder rates, we're I think the highest in North County. It's pretty small numbers, so a single murder kind of has a big effect on the percentage. But per capita, our rate's one of the highest. When it comes to other violent crimes, we're also up there with some of the cities down in San Diego, which is a little disheartening. But I also am endorsed by the Deputy Sheriff's Association because I want to make sure that they have the tools that they need to have the personnel, to have the different equipment, to make sure that they're ready to take care of some of those issues. And they have multiple different kind of task forces and things like that available to them that they can use if they have the resources to do so, as well as some of the outreach that the sheriffs are doing to our youth to make sure that we can actually foster a community that at an early age, basically. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last question, followed by closing statements. Okay, so here's the question. If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wished, what would you do with it and why? Big number. And we are starting with candidate White.
Well, one of the first things that I would do is to make sure that we're addressing some of the most critical needs that are in the city. So, $1 million, it doesn't go as far as maybe it used to, but you could definitely make a change in a lot of people's lives by improving those things that matter most to them. Again, I'm focused on front door politics, which means things like safer streets, better street lighting, more involvement in the community. I think one of the biggest things that I would focus on would probably be our youth and our seniors. I would make sure that we dedicate those resources to promoting children to have opportunities within our city, to be connected to the city, and to make sure that our seniors are being celebrated, because we have, wisdom and grace that comes from so many of our residents that they could be shared with other people in the community that right now they're not being connected with, because whether it be mobility issues, whether it be not being able to leave their home, and other things. So I would make sure that we're connecting our community members, whether that be the youth, seniors, or those that feel disconnected. I want to make sure that people come together and that they feel like they're neighbors.
Thank you. Candidate Melendez.
Thank you. So the best thing that we can do with $1 million is to turn it into $10 million. And the way that we do that is by working with our grant writers and all of our programs to leverage those funds and build upon them to have a greater impact on our community. So wherever we can have a greater reach with our dollars, that's what I would like to do. And like I said, I've been a huge champion for our budget to bring in tens of millions of dollars in grant funding for our city, which I hope we can continue to do. In addition to that, one of the best ways that we can use one-time funds, assuming this isn't reoccurring $1 million revenues, is to invest in generational infrastructure, right? Infrastructure like sidewalks, street lights, traffic calming, housing, things that are going to be there for generations. So we're going to take that $1 million and turn it into 10, and if there's any more opportunity from there, we're going to build generational infrastructure.
Thank you. Candidate Fox.
If we had $1 million, I would try to turn it into 10. By creating economic development opportunities for people to create more jobs in this area, to be able to increase the incomes and the household incomes of our local families. That money will come back and reinvest into our own community, and we'll be able to do so much more with it. So for me, the top three priorities are public safety, housing and infrastructure, and economic development. And for every dollar you bring into the city through an additional job, that's money that comes into our communities to make our families have a better time, an easier time affording the cost of living. It's bringing more tax revenue in to make sure we can fund these programs long term. Thank you.
Although $1 million doesn't get us much with with infrastructure, because that Emerald Drive project, it does have a price tag of $15 million, and it's probably going up with inflation and the cost of labor and materials constantly on the rise. I will bring that $1 million to bring low cost, simple solutions like signage, making sure that we have even just a sign that says now entering residential zone. There's so many things that are low cost and practical that will make a big difference on Emerald. We don't have to wait to get $15 million to make those changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move to closing statements, I'd like to thank the candidates for agreeing to be here tonight, and to the audience for your thoughtful questions and for coming tonight to learn more about the candidates seeking to represent you. Our democracy depends on people willing to serve and people willing to become informed and exercise their right to vote. We like to remind people that democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you for getting in the game. Thank you again to the Vista Chamber of Commerce and the South Vista communities for their time and effort in helping to arrange this. We have other candidate forums scheduled, and on October 5th at 10:30 a.m., we are offering our popular pros and cons presentation open to the public, where we will explain the 10 propositions that will be on your ballot in an unbiased, objective way. Go to our website, lwvncsd.org, for more information on our candidates' forums and other events. The Registrar of Voters will begin mailing ballots to all active registered voters beginning around October 5th. Encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to vote in this election. Up here, there, and back there, we have a list of trusted resources like Vote 411 and the Easy Voter Guide, where you can get nonpartisan, accurate election information. Just point your phone at it and the QR codes, and they'll take you right to the website. Lastly, if you'd like to help us in our mission to make democracy work for everyone, we encourage you to become a member and support us. Or support us with a donation of any amount. It's easy to do. Visit our website at lwvncsd.org. On to the closing comments by the candidates. They will have 1 minute to share their final thoughts with you. We will begin in reverse order of the opening statements. So we will begin with here we go, Katie Melendez.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the candidates for showing up for the community tonight. This is an important election. We have a progressive majority on the Vista City Council for the first time in our city's history, and people who are community-oriented will get things done for their community. Together, we are building affordable housing, we are funding public safety, we are providing renewable energy, we are building infrastructure for generations, and that's only possible because of the participation of our residents and our citizens. This is a government that's by the people and for the people. So I want to engage with you further. I invite you to check out my website, katiemelendezforvista.com. I'll be around to chat with you afterwards. But the more discourse we have on these topics, thank you for the questions, the better our community can become.
Candidate Fox.
Thank you again, all of you, for such fantastic questions tonight. I just want to wrap up with a few reasons why I think that you should vote for me this November. When it comes to public safety, I'm endorsed by both the Vista Fire Department, Firefighters Association, as well as the Deputy Sheriff's Association. When it comes to building more housing, I'm endorsed by the Building Industry Association, the Association of General Contractors, and the Realtors Association. When it comes to economic development, as a business owner, I'm endorsed by the Lincoln Club Business League. And when it comes to being a leader of Vista, I'm endorsed both former Mayor Judy Ritter, Mayor John Franklin, and current Councilmember Joe Green all think that you should vote for Jeff Fox for Vista City Council in District 2. If you'd like to learn more about my campaign, I will be here as well after the meeting, and I'll have some materials in the back, and you can visit my website at www.fox4vista.com. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stuart? Did I miss? No, there we go. I'm sorry.
Ladies first.
Go ahead.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and the Vista Chamber of Commerce for putting this event together. I want to just express my gratitude for everybody that attended tonight. And my approach is to find balanced solutions to our issues. I want to see our city where our families can not only survive but truly prosper. And that's why one of my main priorities is economic development. I want to make sure that we can bring jobs into our city, that we can beautify our neighborhoods, and we can improve our roads. And I also want to make sure that, again, that we bring representation to and especially because 1/3 of our residents are Spanish speakers. I want to make sure that I can deliver on those things. And lastly, public safety. I am endorsed by the Deputy Sheriff's Association as well as Vista Mayor John Franklin, among others. So with your support, please vote for Denise in this upcoming election. You can visit my website at berriganforvista.com or deniseforvista.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Denise, 4 Vista. Thank you.
So again, my name is Anthony White, running for the Vista City Council's 2nd District. Look, I didn't decide to run on a whim. I didn't decide, that this was just something that would be a good idea because it would make a name for myself. I'm doing this because I honestly, wholeheartedly believe in serving my community. Service above self is something that is paramount to me. And I believe the best solutions come from working directly with the community because we're on a precipice to see generational change go one way or the other, whether it be from people being forced to move out of state because they can't afford the cost of living, or the way that our children are going to grow up in our community and our residents are going to be taken care of. So if you want to make sure that you elect a results-oriented leader who knows what it means to deliver on results, who's been endorsed by congressional candidates, Congress members, who's been endorsed by state leaders, who've been endorsed by local leaders, and who has a proven track record of fighting to make a change, then please, I hope you'll vote for me. My website is apw4vista.com, and I hope to be your candidate for the 2nd District. Thank you.
Before we conclude, I would like to mention, mostly to this side of the room, that we have voter registration forms back there, and you can register to vote when you're 16, 17, or 18 and older. So if you have not registered to vote, we have people who can help you, and that side of the room as well. In concluding tonight's forum, we want to thank once again our sponsors, Vista Chamber of Commerce and South Vista Communities, and you, the audience, for asking such great questions. And I want to thank and commend the candidates for their courage and willingness to run for public office, and the civility and the well-mannered both audience and panel that we had tonight. Let's give them a round of applause.